Welcome back, gamers. This week we'll talk about Alien Isolation. Alien Isolation is a game that finally captures the Alien franchise currently really well, from the dark atmosphere, the aesthetic of the ship, the xenomorph enemy, and the music. The game pleases a lot of fans, but also answers to fans the question, will there ever be that one decent Alien game? This is as close as it gets. Alien Isolation is a first-person horror survival that puts players into the shoes of Amanda Ripley, who is the daughter of Ellen Ripley. She is seeking out closure to her mother's ship's disappearance, and she has received tip that the black box recording to the Nostromo is aboard the Sevastopol space station. Only when arriving did she discover that there's chaos among the crew, killer synthetics on the loose, and an alien drone that sneaked on board. The main storyline to the game was really decent. Most of the lore can be found in the audio logs that are hidden all over the ship and terminals found throughout the game, which tells what was happening on the ship. If one takes the time to read it, they were written exceptionally well. The sound and music in this game features surround sound and is fantastic. There will be eerie sounds throughout the ship because the ship itself is making a noise. The enemies, such as the xenomorphs, makes his way all around the area, crawling in the vent, walking across hallways, knocking things over, turning corners. Along with the other enemies, the synthetics are eerily walking along the hallways and talking to themselves, while the humans are talking among each other and discussing survival tactics and reminiscing about their crimes. The sound in this game will make players turn their head around and look all over the place because of the way it's done, and the music will put players at the edge of their feet, giving the notion that something bad is about to happen. It's that sort of tune that kicks in. The voice acting in the game itself, though, is done well. The controls are really well done in the game with the keyboard layout, which is also bindable and configurable. The players are able to lean side to side, back and forth, above objects to observe the whereabouts of the enemies. Running is a very dangerous feature in the game that should be used mindfully because enemies can hear your footsteps, so it's recommended to sneak, and crouching will be something that is used most of the time, since crouching around things and blocking line of sight is very important. The gameplay itself, unlike its previous title, the alien in this game cannot be killed by the weapons available in the game. So there's a more stealth approach to the gameplay, where it is played cat and mouse style to escape and accomplish missions and objectives. Most of the traveling around the area of the ship is done via the transport hubs. The ship is really large. Some of the maps in the games are corridor-like, while most of the other areas are decently sized and have open spaces with a lot of rooms to go in and also hide. There's also multiple routes in certain areas, so the maps are also decently done. The weapons players will be armed with in the game are a wrench to open doors and for meleeing, a stun baton, a revolver, a shotgun, a flamethrower that can scare away the aliens, a bolt gun, which is the most powerful gun in the game to kill synthetics and humans. Along with the weapons, players are able to craft by collecting certain materials. Players can craft objects such as flares, noisemakers, smoke bombs, flashbangs, EMP mines, Molotov, pipe bombs, and medical kits. Each of the items require certain components to craft. They can be found in the environment and on dead bodies. Each item serves a valuable purpose in surviving against foes, and each should be used sparingly. Choosing to use any of these crafted items on enemies must be made with care, because using them can be dangerous at times, especially when they can hurt the player or also call other enemies into the area. A little tip for people who like to hoard components, or maybe don't like to be full of stuff when there's available material there, maybe won't revisit the room again. What you can do is invest in the next item and put the components in. That way you'll free up space and you'll be able to grab more components. There are also other important items such as the modified motion tracker, which is important to detect locations of xenomorphs and other dangers. When looking at the tracker, player loses focus around them. This feature was brilliant and adds an immersion and awareness. Players will find that holding the right mouse button will help them pay attention to the surrounding area. The key here is the balance between the two and not run into your enemies. As said before, the wrench was important because it opened certain locked doors, but later on will be upgraded to Blow torches. The torches use 3 types of gas which can be upgraded throughout the game and is used for accessing panels to make your way to inaccessible areas. There's also the access tuner to hack into computers and door panels. The hacking aspect is actually quite entertaining in the game with its puzzle, while the torches are motion QTE. Keep in mind though, not all doors are hackable. There are certain doors with code panels. The only way to hack the code panels is to read the terminal, get the code, and input the command through the keyboard. Aside from that, there's also some doors in the game that requires players to seek out and search for keycards.
Samuels, I'm on my way.
Everything that is done in the game, from the blowtorches, the hacking, reloading bullets, saving, or even crafting, will put players in danger if done in the open. There is never a moment of truly feeling safe. Keeping an eye on what's going on is important as to the depth of the immersion. Saving is done with a machine in the game with only 2 save slots, where players can load a recent or previous save on death, and the station takes time to recharge. So saving carefully is really important, and knowing the location of each areas to save. There's also save at certain checkpoints, but those are pretty rare in the game. The death sequences in the game are also really well done, especially when a player realizes they've been caught by the xenomorphs from above or behind or from the corners. It's a pretty terrifying experience. Clever girl. No! The enemies in the games are crazed synthetics called the Working Cho, humans who have lost trust among each other, and xenomorph alien. Enemy AI in the game is great and unpredictable at times, but not every time. Sometimes they have a set path and events, but other times they show up in random corners and locations. How they react and what they learn from the player's behavior are quite astonishing, especially on hard difficulty. They will seek players out, pull them up in vents, ambush them around corners, pull from underneath the table, hear sounds, or even investigate certain areas repeatedly because of that. One example is using a noisemaker repeatedly and watching in fear as the alien realizes the trick and dashes down the hallway in a rage, seeking out the player, or gunshots will draw them out. When hiding in lockers, etc., one must lean back and hold breath in order to survive the encounter, so leaning back and right mouse button. Hiding in the same places too many times will prompt a check from the enemy. There's also sneaking beneath tables or around objects to obscure the line of sight of enemies is always a great way to get about.
Oh god, it knows!
There's also a panel in the game that players can divert power from certain systems to thwart the enemy, such as turning on speakers, lighting, and alarms to get away. Along with that, there are certain doors that have emergency override lock on them, which help players get away also. Like I said before, the AI system is good, but it's not always perfect. There are times when the AI system is a little bit wonky, and players will notice this also during certain situations. And a beautiful day to you too, Mr. Xenomorph. Along with the main storyline gameplay, there's also a DLC that replays certain event in Ellen Ripley's Alien Encounter and a survival mode. There's no multiplayer of any kind for the game, once beaten. In my opinion, in short, as an Alien fan, I found this game amazingly well done and truly does some justice for the franchise, unlike what I've played in Rageron before, Colonial Marines. Amanda characteristics, however, didn't really fully immerse me into being scared or terrified because of how brave she was during certain times throughout the game. I found myself more adrenaline pumped and questioning how aliens have constantly found me, until I discovered they were learning my habits. I was being pulled from under tables, closets, found around certain corners. It made me shout in anger at times like, what the hell? This game was a bit difficult. I made it through though to the end of the game with a sliver of life left. Barely anything in my inventory. So, in short, play this game on hard to truly see the beauty of the game. The game will last you about 17 plus hours if you explore and stealth your way through the game. Some of the cons I have about this game is some of the backtracking in the same area of the map can be a little bit tedious at times, especially when traveling to the hub station back and forth. Loses the immersion of the area and gives the player a chance to know what's going on. The bad animations in some of the monitors and character work. No multiplayer of any kind. Replay values for me drop after a run through because of the lack of end content. There isn't much to do after you beat the game, unless you want to play the game again and die less. That's pretty much my cons. Aside from that, thanks for watching, guys, and remember to game on. Oh my god, she's so dead! Gamers, welcome back. Today we're gonna review Middle-earth: Shadows of Mordor. What is this? Telescope in here. Oh, what the f-